I mean, I could start anywhere, but I think we know you got to start with Cal. It's pretty crazy, man, what we're watching, and
it really is.
It really is. Unsurprisingly, people here are looking for him to be in the conversation for AL MVP with Judge.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not there yet, and that says something, Mike, considering just how great Cal Raleigh has been. I just, if we're gonna do this, baseball makes it very easy. And I understand it's not all about numbers specifically, but Aaron Judge is hitting almost 100 points higher. Aaron Judge is getting on base, 80 points higher, and Aaron Judge has 70-point lead in slugging percentage. Like, just across the board, the numbers are significantly better. And again, I am not taking a single thing away from Cal Raleigh. I acknowledge his superior defense. I acknowledge how difficult it is to play catcher every day, and to do so at the volume he's doing it is absolutely absurd. And all those things warrant consideration in this case. But to me, the numbers offensively just need to be a little bit closer than they are in terms of the metrics as opposed to the counting stats, because he's ahead of him in home runs. He's ahead of him in RBIs. He's ahead of him in the team-dependent stuff. But at the end of the day, that triple slash line is where I begin. And when the difference is as significant as it is, it's just going to be difficult for me, despite all of those secondary things that Cal Raleigh has going for him, to put him above Judge because of the difference in offense.
All right, so let me throw two other ideas at you. One, two questions kind of in one. Do you put any stock into Cal having to do that, playing half of his home games at the worst hitter's park in baseball, while Judge gets to do it with a Mickey Mouse right field in the Bronx? Two, a lot of those numbers from Judge were built in the first month, and our guy Lyle here has pointed this out. Cal, since May 1st, so now, that's almost 2/3 of the season now, has a higher F4, a higher WRC plus than Judge. Does that change the conversation at all, that some of it was racked up in just a ridiculous April?
The element of factoring in the stadium absolutely matters to me. Like, when I'm trying to assess a player's value, I do take it to account the park. And that's another check in Cal Raleigh's, column. But I didn't know that April didn't exist.
No one's saying it didn't exist, just that,
Well, you're trying to make an argument based around the idea of, since this point, well, yeah. What about the point of March 27th to April 30th, though?
Fair.
Like, that's a full month. That is a full month of base. Listen, I am not bigger than using arbitrary endpoints. I have done so before. I will do so again. And if you want to suggest that what Cal Raleigh's done over the last month and a half is something that can be projected forward, and that he continues to do that, then yeah, we have a real conversation on our hands at that point. Because I do think if that OPS gap continues to tighten, then Cal Raleigh's got a really excellent case. And frankly, despite what everybody thinks about East Coast bias, about New York media, about all the rigmarole there, people love Cal Raleigh, man. Like, they love Cal Raleigh. They love to say big dumper. They love to watch his home runs fly from both sides of the plate. I don't think that he's going to have a narrative problem in the same way that others, going up against the King of New York might have otherwise. The Cal Raleigh narrative right now is about as good as it gets. You have a guy at a position that doesn't win MVP, putting up MVP type numbers and carrying his team into what right now would be a postseason spot. He is a switch hitter on top of that, which is exciting and fun. And he has a good nickname, and he smiles, and he plays great defense and throws runners out. I can go on and on about how great Cal Raleigh is. And I'm excited that the rest of the country is beginning to see what people in Seattle have now known for a couple of years.
He might end up stealing 20 bags this year.
Dude, I know.
What is
like,
that?
how about
What?
How about a 60-20 season?
That is for a catcher too. I mean, like that is he's not fast. I mean, you watch him steal those bases.
No.
It's not because of speed. It's just smarts and understanding the game.
Exactly.
And I think EY Jr., Eric Young Jr. has done a pretty darn impressive job as a first base and running coach for this team. We don't talk a lot about that. We've talked a lot about Perry Hill and his defensive coaching over the years. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but can a base running coach have that kind of effect on a team?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a small effect. It's a marginal effect, but the reality is, Mike, if you're stealing bases at a successful clip, and beyond that, you're doing so regularly for a team that offensively, at least until recently, had been struggling. Every little bit matters, man. Every little bit helps you get more runs across the plate, helps you get base runners in better position, helps you, just helps you all in all. And so, yeah, I will give all sorts of love to coaches who are having tangible, demonstrable effects on their teams, and I think Eric Young Jr. qualifies there.
Cal is right now on pace for 67 home runs for the season. Is there a number that you look at as sort of the defining number for home runs? Do you still look at 61? Does Judge in 22 make you look at 62? Do you look at 70 because of what number do you look at?
Right now, I look at 49 because the most home runs ever hit by a catcher in a season is 48. I'm not going to sit here and think that Cal Raleigh's going to hit 60 home runs.
Okay,
like that is it's a ridiculous number. I think he can. I think it is well within the realm of possibility. But to me, that first number that really stands out is 49, and anything beyond 50 is gravy. And if he actually gets to 60, that is rarefied territory in the history of baseball. Literally only a handful of guys have ever done that.
Is there a number that you look at though for sluggers in general? I mean, is 62 now the number you look at? Do you look at 70? What do you look at?
No, it's 73. It's Bonds,
okay.
Right?
So it is Bonds.
I mean, he hit 73 balls over the fence, and yes, he was on steroids at the time. We can acknowledge that. And yes, there is an advantage to being on steroids, and we can acknowledge that. But it still happened. Like we can bemoan it if we want, and that is not unreasonable. But to deny that it happened is the same thing as suggesting that Aaron Judge's April should be looked past because we decided maybe it should be. Like, it just that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I understand why people are aggrieved over what Barry Bonds did, but the record, guys, like, whether you like it or not, that's not going to change.
There have been some surprises with this Mariners team this year. Like every day there's a new one. Just when you think they're good, they're bad. Just when you think they're bad, they're good. It's not just true of the team. It's true of individual players. Have you seen the splits on Donovan Solano? I know we were just talking about arbitrary dates. Donovan Solano before, what's the date?
Awesome.
May 18th.
May 18th. Before May 18th, had an OPS under 300. He was like the worst player I've ever seen. And since then, he has the second highest WRC plus in baseball. Like, how does that happen?
Yep. I wish I had a good answer to that. I wish I knew how a guy can turn from the worst hitter in the sport to the best hitter in the sport, because that's essentially what he's done. And it's been in a limited number of at-bats, and I think the Mariners have done a very good job of picking and choosing when to roll Donovan Solano out there. But rather than like explain how it's happening, which I am incapable of doing, I'll say this. If a team is going to be successful, it needs the Donovan Solanos of the world to go on a heater for a couple of weeks. That's how you win games. When you're, it's amazing to see what Cal Raleigh's doing right now, and he's on a home run hitting jag and would carry any team in baseball at this point. That's how good he's been. But you need to have a Donovan Solano game. You need to have a Rowdy Tellez game. You need to have a Luke Raley game. You need to have a Ben Williamson game, maybe even a Miles Mastrobuoni game. Like, you just need those secondary guys, your non-stars, to go out there and win games every so often. And it makes the contract that those players sign worth it. If you can get a couple of wins out of them just on the pure strength of what they're doing, and the Mariners certainly got one through Donovan Solano this week, it makes it worth it, not just having him on your roster, but paying him what you do. And those are the little marginal things that make the difference, Mike, between a team that makes the playoffs and a team that doesn't.
Are you buying that Dominic Canzone could be a thing? I mean, I was very skeptical. Kind of seemed like a 4A player to me. Doesn't run real well. Not great defense. Didn't seem to fit what the Mariners were trying to go towards. But, man, since he's come up, Jeff, he looks like a different player. Can a guy figure it out at 27?
Sure. Do I think that that's the case with Dominic Canzone? Way too early for me to say that. Let's put it this way. We put out, Kylie McDaniel and I, a top 50 trade deadline candidates today. And for certain positions, some teams are going to, like the Mariners, if there's an infielder to acquire, they're probably going to be on there, especially a first baseman. But I put some corner outfielders there too. Losing Victor Robles, it was rough. And they have Randy Arozarena locked in left. They have Julio Rodriguez locked in center. But between the DH spot and the corner outfield spot, I just don't look at that right now as being something that Dominic Canzone is necessarily going to hold all the way through the trade deadline. Right now, though, if he keeps playing the way that he has, then yeah, I think he's certainly in the mix there.
Well, I mean, the guy that I think that will probably be out there more often is Luke Raley, and sort of thinking about it before he came back, it's like, I never really gave much attention to the fact that Raley was missing because he's not a superstar kind of player. He's not a star. But boy, does he ever fit the identity of what this team says they want to be about with the combination of power and athleticism. And I don't know if you've seen him since he's come back. He's kind of shown all of it. Maybe that does give them enough flexibility so that if they want to go right field, they can. If they want to go first base, they can and move him to right. He ends up being kind of an important player in all this.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I will say this, though. I still think that the Mariners absolutely need to go out and get a bat at the trade deadline. Do you not agree?
Agreed. 100%.
Okay, so where is that bat?
Well, the nice thing is that bat can play first, it can play third, it can play right, it can play second. I mean, you have four positions pretty open if you want to go get them. So I saw your piece. I know you had Alex Bregman on there who, God, man, that was the guy I really wanted them to go get this offseason, stick him at third base and just make your team better. I don't know whether that's a realistic possibility, but is there a big kind of surprise move out there for them?
I don't know that there's a surprise move at this point, but I also didn't know Rafael Devers was getting traded, right? So there could be somebody over the next few weeks to emerge. It's interesting now that Corbin Carroll is hurt. You wonder what that does to the Diamondbacks, right? If the Diamondbacks do not have their best player in the lineup for an extended period of time, that's only going to add, I think, to the impetus for them to go out and try and overhaul their farm system through trades, because they've got a number of desirable players who are reaching free agency. Eugenio Suarez, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Josh Naylor would be a perfect fit for the Mariners. Just a guy who he walks, he hits for high average, he's got some power, and best of all, he does not strike out. And those are the guys who, when you're putting together a playoff lineup, Mike, you want guys who are not going to give away at bats, going to put the ball in play, but also capable of hitting it hard.
Is Naylor miserable? I only say this because we watched the series in Arizona, where the Mariners were there a week or two ago, and they swept the Mariners, and he was awesome. At times, the best player on the field, certainly the best hitter on the field. He looks like he does not enjoy it. Maybe he doesn't enjoy Arizona. That was the vibe that we all thought in watching him. Is that his reputation, or are we off on that?
I don't think that's his reputation. I mean, he definitely is an animated guy. He's definitely a little different than your average ball player, but no, I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe him as miserable.
He looked at, maybe he didn't like it where he is. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he wanted to go back to Cleveland, but he just, for whatever reason,
Mike, it's great I was going to say, it's great to know that via facial expressions and posture, you are capable of completely discerning a man's mental state.
I do not. I have Brock for that. I don't do that. I speak on behalf of Brock, who's excellent at that. He can tell and we're trying to do that with Julio a little bit right now. We had Angie Mentink on yesterday, who is just awesome. Love Angie. And she was kind of talking through a question that I think has been on our minds, and there's no way to know, but this whole idea of two young guys coming up together. And first here it was Julio and Kelenic, and the pressure on Kelenic as he watched Julio do it while he wasn't seemed to break him. We watched Ackley and Seager, two UNC guys, kind of had the same problem and the same idea when they were both here. Is there a possibility of Julio having, being affected by the success that Cal is having?
Sure. I don't know that that's the case, though. I wouldn't imagine that's the case, because if he really cares about winning as much as he says, then you look at Cal Raleigh and celebrate it, right? What gets me every year about Julio is we're at the point now where we sit here and say, well, he's not what we thought he was going to be, and ultimately he might not be. And yet he's still a top 25 player in terms of wins above replacement. Like there's a ton of value that Julio Rodriguez brings beyond the bat. And I'm not saying that he will never reach his potential with his bat. Like we got to remember, he's still just 24 years old. So, we're talking about the possibility of Dominic Canzone at 27 having a breakout. Julio Rodriguez is 3 years shy of that. But I think where we should come down is, even if he doesn't have the bat that's an MVP type bat that we thought he was going to, he's still like a 5-win player every season, like consistently so now.
I get that, Jeff. But Jeff, look, I know that. But if you were to add the Julio bat that we all expect to the season that Cal Raleigh is having, then you start, and with this pitching staff, then you're talking about a World Series type of team.
World Series. Yeah, I know you're not wrong, but I'm trying not to deal with ifs. I'm trying to deal with what's actually here right now. And all I want to say is what's actually here right now is a pretty darn good baseball player.
Totally
and somebody who, frankly, is not a terrible second banana on a team where Cal Raleigh's clearly the guy.
So let's come back to the idea of who the third banana on that team could be, or maybe the second. If it's a Naylor, Gino Suarez, do you try to go out and get both those guys?
Absolutely.
What does that cost? I mean, let's say they do fall out of it. How much does it cost to get 2 months of both of those two guys together?
Harry Ford plus.
I'd do that. I'd do that tomorrow. And in fact, I would like to do it tomorrow, so I got more than 2 months of those guys. I'd like 3.5 months of those guys.
Would you do Harry Ford and Las Montes?
That I would probably say no to, just because of the lack of controllability. I'd want somebody with another year of controllability before I did it. But I do Las Montes and Tyler Locklear.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are the questions.
And by the way, I didn't mean that. I would do Harry Ford and Tyler Locklear. Sorry.
Okay. You would not do Las Montes and Tyler Locklear?
Probably not, but I could have a conversation about it. Like, for two guys, like, what does this lineup look like with both Gino Suarez and Josh Naylor in it with this pitching staff? Yeah, and then you still have something left over to go get a bullpen arm? Yeah, I'm willing to have that conversation.
Would you talk Saintia?
No, not really.
Would you talk Sloan?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, not for 2 months.
Carmelo?
No. Like, if I'm going to do that, I probably want, and I'll ask you the question, but I would probably want more than 2 months of control. I'd want a year and 2 months. So who is in that category?
Sure.
Who are the prospective trade candidates that are not just the 2 month guys, but a year plus guys?
I think Ryan McMahon is an option. He is, after this season, under contract for 2 years and $32 million. I do wonder how Ryan McMahon's bat would play in Seattle. Let's not forget, he's been hitting in Colorado all of these years. Beyond that, though, like, if you're looking for a bat, there's not a whole lot in terms of controllable bats. Maybe Luis Robert, and that wouldn't cost a whole lot, frankly. But do you really want Luis Robert at $20 million a year next year and the year after?
No.
Taylor, yeah.
Brendan
probably
Donovan?
not. Taylor Ward. I mean, sure, but the Cardinals are probably not going to trade Brendan Donovan.
Okay.
Like, I have not heard his name once. He's a guy that they want to build around, not move out. Even as they're transitioning toward Chaim Bloom taking over from John Mozeliak as president of baseball operations there, I don't foresee them, because Donovan, it's the same reasons, Mike, that you want him. He's just such a consistently good hitter and so versatile, can play just about anywhere in the infield, can play the outfield. He's a fun player to watch. And I think if they were doing that, the Cardinals probably would want major league ready starting pitching. So we're talking Logan Evans at that point. And it would be a Logan Evans, Laz Montez plus type situation. And is that something you'd be willing to do?
I might. I mean, maybe it's Logan Evans and Cole Young who plays the same position, but I'm having a conversation.
JJ Weatherholtz is probably going to be their second baseman of the future, so I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, I think I would do that.
They've got Mason Wynn at shortstop. I mean, they would take a third baseman, but the Mariners really don't have like any top third base prospects.
Yeah, I would consider all those things. Yeah, for a difference maker, to put the team over the top. And we haven't talked about the pitching because right now it's being overshadowed by an offense scoring 10 runs a game here on this road trip. But they're kind of doing that thing, Jeff, where they just start rolling out a starting pitcher every night. And the other side is like, you don't get a break. Every single night, they're throwing somebody at you that can go 6 innings and 2 runs or better. So, yeah, I think I am willing to give up something like that for Brandon Donovan if it gives me the opportunity to truly go after this season.
Totally warranted. And I think that I'm not there yet, Mike, that the Mariners are in a place where they should stretch themselves, right? I think they have shown flashes of being that team. I think they have that team within them, but they're still just 3 games over 500. They're still the team that, a couple of weeks ago had steam coming out of your ears because of the inconsistency and the disappearing act of the offense. Like, this is a team that still has enough flaws where getting a little bit loose this year, I feel like they need to earn that through their play.
Totally agree. But that's why we got the next month and a half here, or month plus, to try to figure some of that stuff out. Jeff, appreciate it.